Both of us had the same story the next day, and for years afterwards, we would talk about this. We weren't frightened, but this woman was staring at us. She, I guess, came next door with the teenager. When I was 6, we lived in Silver Spring, Maryland, which is just outside of Washington, D.C. And there's a lot of history on the East Coast. Our houses were probably built as on this one street where all the houses basically look the same, like any house in old St. Louis. And they were just little brick houses, 2 bedrooms. And then upstairs, what probably was an attic at some point, was just one long bedroom. And that was where my brother had one end and I had the other end. The house next door was just like ours, and we were friends with those people that lived next door. The woman had been told when they bought the house next door that it was haunted. She's like, yeah, sure, okay. Well, one day she was sunbathing in the backyard, and she looked in her bedroom window, and there's a woman staring out at her. A woman who she didn't know, didn't recognize, was not supposed to be in the house. And she had on a flowy dress, this person looking at her, flowy dress and long dark hair. Well, she told this story, at neighborhood gatherings, and people were like, yeah, right. Well, one day, the next door neighbor's teenager came to babysit for us one night. And it was late at night. My parents weren't home yet. And my brother and I both the next day said we had woken up at some point in the night, and a woman was at the foot of each of our beds staring at us. Long dark hair and a flowy dress. Didn't say anything, just stared at us. Both of us had the same story the next day, and for years afterwards, we would talk about this. We weren't frightened, but this woman was staring at us. She, I guess, came next door with the teenager to help babysit. I don't know. Well, cut to 7 years later, we go to Disney World. I'm 13, and we ride the haunted ghost mansion, the haunted mansion. And I'm not afraid. It's holograms. I know they're holograms. Until we got to the end, and they have that archway that you take the little boat out to get off. On top of this archway was a hologram of a woman. Long dark hair, flowing dress, looked just like that woman that was at the foot of my bed. And that freaked me out. I wasn't freaked out when I was 6 by the actual whatever this was. That scared me for years. I would think about it and be afraid of that archway and that person up there. Cut to 2 years ago, I went to Disney World with my grandchildren and my kids, and I forced myself to go on this ride, the Haunted Mansion ride, to have some closure. Like, this is ridiculous. You cannot be afraid of this. It's a hologram. So we did the ride, and we went through the archway, and either they had changed the hologram, or it just didn't look the way I remembered it. But in any case, it just put to rest my fears of that night and the years afterwards. So yeah, that's my ghost story.